Excuse me, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
And the responsibility of this course mainly is to give you a pattern, a blueprint by which you can take possession of your own mind and put it into operation. All you have to do is to follow the blueprint. Don't just pick out that part of it which you like best and discard the other. Take it all as is. The sixth premise, the subconscious section of the mind appears to be the only doorway of individual approach to infinite intelligence. Now, I want you to study that language very carefully. I said it appears to be. I don't know if it is, and I doubt if you do, and I doubt if anyone knows definitely. A lot of people have a lot of different ideas about it, but from the best intelligence that I have been able to use, best observations that I have been able to make through thousands of experiments, it is true that the subconscious section of the mind is the only doorway of individual approach to infinite intelligence, and it is capable of influence by the individual through the means described in this and subsequent lessons. The basis of approach is faith based upon definiteness of purpose. Now, there is one sentence that gives you the whole key to that paragraph. Faith based upon definiteness of purpose. Do you have any idea why it is that you don't have as much confidence in yourself as you should have? Had you ever stopped to think about that? Did you ever stop to think about why it is that when you see an opportunity coming along or what you believe to be an opportunity, you begin to question your ability to embrace it and use it? Haven't you had that happen to you many times? Doesn't it happen every day? And if you've had a chance to be closely associated with people who are very successful, you'll know that that is one thing that they are not bothered by. If they want to do something, it never occurs to them they can't do it. I hope that in your association with the Napoleon Hill Associates, you'll come to know my distinguished business associate, Mr. W. Clement Stone, better, because if I ever saw a man that knows the power of his mind and is willing to rely upon that mind, Mr. Stone is that man. I don't think Mr. Stone has any worries. I don't believe he would tolerate a worry. I think it would be an insult to his intelligence if he recognized that anything was worrying him. Why? Because he has confidence in his ability to use his mind and to make that mind create the circumstances that he wants created. And that's the condition and the operation of any successful mind. And that's going to be the condition of your mind when you get through with this philosophy. You're going to be able to project your mind into whatever objective you choose, and there'll be never any question in your mind as to whether you can do what you want to do or not. Never a question in the world. Both of a receiving set and a broadcasting station for the vibrations of thought, a fact which explains the importance of moving with definiteness of purpose instead of drifting, since the brain may be so thoroughly charged with the nature of one's purpose that it will begin to attract the physical or material equivalents of that purpose. Get it into your consciousness that the first radio broadcasting and receiving set was the one that exists in the brain of man. And not only does it exist in the brain of man, but it exists in a great many animals. I have a couple of Pomeranian dogs, and they know exactly what I'm thinking sometimes before I know. They're so smart. They can tune in on me. They know when we start off for an automobile ride whether they're going or whether they're not. Don't have to say a word, not a word, because they're in constant attunement with us. Your mind is sending out vibrations constantly. And if you're a salesman and you're going to call on a prospective buyer, the sale ought to be made before you ever come into presence of the buyer. Had you ever thought of that? If you're going to do anything requiring the cooperation of other people, condition your mind so that you know the other fellow is going to cooperate. Why? First, because the plan that you're going to offer him is so fair and honest and so beneficial to him that he can't refuse it. In other words, you have a right to his cooperation. You would be surprised to know what a change there will be in people when you come sending out over this broadcasting station of yours positive thoughts instead of thoughts of fear. Now, if you want a good illustration of how this broadcasting station works, you need $1,000 real badly, and you go down to the bank somewhere, and you've got to have that $1,000 by the day after tomorrow. They're going to take the car back, or the furniture, or something else. You just have to have that $1,000. Why, the banker can tell the moment you walk inside the door that you just have to have it, and he doesn't want you to have it. Isn't that funny? No, it's not funny. It's tragic. You carry the matches around in your pocket oftentimes to set your own house afire. You broadcast your thoughts, and they precede you. And when you get there, you find that instead of getting the cooperation you went after, the other person reflects back to you what? That state of doubt, that state of mind that you sent out ahead of you. I used to teach salesmanship. I made my living that way for a long time while I was doing the research on this philosophy. And I have taught over 30,000 salesmen, many of them now life members of the coveted $1 Million Roundtable in the life insurance field. And if there is one thing in this world that has to be sold, it's life insurance. Nobody ever buys life insurance. It has to be sold. And the first thing that I taught those people under my direction was that they must make the sale to themselves before they try to make it to the other fellow. And if they don't do that, they're not going to make a sale. Somebody might buy something from them, but they'll never make a sale unless they first make it to themselves. Every brain a broadcasting station and a receiving set. And you can attune that brain so that it'll attract only the positive vibrations released by other people. Now, that's the point I'm coming to and that I wanted you to get. By habit, you can train your own mind to pick up out of that myriad of vibrations that are floating out there constantly. Train your mind to pick up only the things that are related to what you want most in life. And how do you do that? Why, you do that by keeping your mind on what you want most in life, your definite major purpose. So, by repetition, by thought, by action, until finally the brain will not pick up anything not related to that definiteness of purpose. Now, is that a marvelous thought? You can educate your brain so that it will absolutely refuse to pick up any vibrations except those related to what you want. And ladies and gentlemen, when you get your brain under control like that, you will be on the path, really and truly on the beam. Now let's see what are some of the benefits of definiteness of purpose. And first of all, definiteness of purpose automatically develops self-reliance. Personal initiative, imagination, enthusiasm, self-discipline, and concentration of effort. All of these being prerequisites for success of vital importance. Now that's quite an array of things that you really developed. You develop through definiteness of purpose. That is to say, knowing what you want, having a plan for getting it, having your mind occupied mostly with the carrying out of that plan. And if you happen to adopt a plan, and unless you're an unusual person, you're almost sure to adopt some plans that are not going to work so well. When you find out that your plan is not right, immediately discard it and get another one. And keep on until you find one that will work. And in the process of doing this, just remember one thing, that maybe somewhere along the line that infinite intelligence, being gifted with a great deal of wisdom, might have a plan for you better than the one you had yourself. Have an open mind. If you adopt a plan to carry out your major purpose or a minor purpose and it doesn't work well, dismiss that plan and ask for guidance from infinite intelligence. And you may get that guidance, and what can you do to be sure that you will get it? Why, you can believe that you'll get it. You can believe that you'll get it, and it's not going to hurt if you say out loud orally that you believe it. I suspect that the Creator knows your thoughts, but I found that if you express yourself with a lot of enthusiasm, it doesn't hurt any. And I'm sure that it doesn't hurt in arousing your subconscious mind. When I wrote Think and Grow Rich, the original title of it was The 13 Steps to Riches. And both the publisher and I knew that was not a box office title. We had to have $1 million title. Well, they went ahead and set the book up in type. And the publisher kept prodding me every day to give him the title that I wanted, and I wrote 500 or 600 titles. There weren't any of them any good. Not any of them. And then one day he scared the dickens out of me. He called me up and said, well, he said, tomorrow morning I've got to have that title. And he said, if you don't have one, I have one that's a humdinger. I said, what is it? He said, we're going to call it Use Your Noodle and Get the Boodle. I said, my goodness, you'll ruin me. Why, he said, this is a dignified book. And that's a flippant title. Why, that will ruin the book and me too. Well, he said, whether it will or not, that's the title, unless you give me a better one by tomorrow morning. Now, I want you to follow this incident because it's potent with food for thought, what I'm now telling you. I went in that night and sat down on my bed as I was going to, on the side of the bed, and I had a talk with my subconscious mind. And I said, now look here, old sub. You and I have gone a long way together, and you've done a lot of things for me and some things to me, thanks to my ignorance. But I've got to have $1 million title, and I've got to have it tonight. Do you understand that? I got to talk.